Badlands National Park, climbing Devil's Tower, and exploring the Black Hills of South Dakota in September of 2021. Me and my friend Beatty departed Birmingham on Monday night and drove pretty much straight through to Wall, South Dakota, arriving in about 22 hours. On that first night, we arrived to Sage Creek Campground just after dark, and when I woke up in the morning, the buffalo were really close to our tents. We had to meet Pat over at Devil's Tower that evening, so we didn't spend that much time at the Badlands, only spending about a half a day there. That's something I do want to go back and check out some more. I believe the Badlands formed through deposition of volcanic ash via volcanoes that are no longer present in that area and subsequent erosion of that ash. And the end result is a very impressive landscape. From there, we proceeded 2 hours further west to Devil's Tower. To simplify the explanation of Devil's Tower, you might just say it's the remnant of a volcano column, and the rocks around it were much softer and eroded away. I hadn't seen my friend Pat since high school, and he is now a rock climbing guide out west. And at this point, he was not at Devil's Tower to climb as a guide, but to climb as a tourist because the summer season had ended. I made quite the breakfast that morning, a half dozen eggs, several andouille sausages, and lots of coffee. After breakfast, we hurried over to the base of Devil's Tower, which was about a 1-mile drive from the campsite. The goal was to hurry over to the base of the Durrance route and be the first group there. The Durrance route is considered one of the 50 classic climbs in North America. When my alarm went off at 4:30 a.m. that morning, there was actually a thin layer of frost on the ground. It was actually pretty chilly, but as soon as the sun hit the rock, the entire area heated up. It was very impressive how quickly it warmed up. These photos show us approaching the base of the Durrance route, and if you notice, there'll be something like a funnel-shaped area. That's called the bowling alley, because if a large boulder were to fall and you were to be in it, you would just be creamed by that boulder. It would be funneled like basically to where you are. Back in those days, I only had 1/16 the storage capacity of what I have now. So my phone was pretty much maxed out on that climb as far as how much video and photos I could take. I was actually deleting things to make room. So here are some of the few videos I have from that day. Sarah is the first woman to climb every 14er in Colorado. So, no pressure there, right? She was my climbing partner that day. Yeah. I don't want to make too much of it, but it's kind of like going and playing pickup basketball at the park with somebody, and it just happens to be Michael Jordan. This was my first serious outdoor rock climb, and I was partnered with Sarah Miser. Yeah, so she was really patient, really just great overall. And I'm really thankful that I got to be partnered with her. And I'm thankful that Pat, kind of allowed us to tag along that day. They were very, very generous in taking us with them. And I don't think I'll ever be as knowledgeable or as skilled as Pat or Sarah, not even close. But there's always a part of me that desires to have that knowledge and skill. And I really admire what they've done and how much they know and how they do it. So just want to say once again, thank you, Pat, and thank you, Sarah, for making this happen. So let's talk about the style of climbing we're doing. We were doing trad climbing. And so one person does lead on trad and the other one belays the leader. The lead person, which in this case was always Sarah, the leader has to hold on with one hand as she climbs and select and place this temporary protection in the form of cams. There are other forms of protection, but it's primarily these cams that expand and fit into the cracks. And then she clips the rope into them and climbs on. Now, if she were to fall and those cams were to pull out, she could just continuously fall. So there's a lot of risk involved in this style of climbing. Here in this upcoming photo, you can see some people that look like ants. I was looking down at them from probably, at least a half mile away, and they must have been 1,000 feet lower. And I kept waving, and they finally waved back. It was just great. Something else, this is crack climbing. We're actually climbing in the voids around these, bulbous shapes. So you had to jam your hands and feet into these small cracks and basically climb not holds, but an absence of holds. It was actually really tricky climbing. These several photos show us in the jump traverse, and the jump traverse is a place where you're traversing horizontally, and you actually have the option at one point to leap from one boulder to another. With total exposure, you would fall, I think you'd fall the entire way, but you're on rope. And, in the moment, I really wanted to do that jump just to say that I did it, but I couldn't force myself. It just, my hands wouldn't let me. And this photo and the subsequent short video shows Beatty finishing out that jump traverse. It's just great. From there, it was a short jaunt to the top, and it was interesting. The closer we got to the top, the more the wind increased. I think there were 30 or 40 mile per hour winds up there. It was just obscene. And yeah, here's a good illustration of the wind as we're going down the other side to do the descent. Most climbing accidents happen on the descent. Rappelling off of a rock climb can be very dangerous. You have to know exactly where to rappel to, where the stations are, and you have to have the right rope, and you can't make any mistakes. It's very tricky. After dinner, Beatty and I drove on about 2 hours to Jewel Cave National Monument, and we found a place to camp on some federal land near Jewel Cave. And I had never been to South Dakota until this trip, so that next morning I did some solo hiking and just got to see some different landscape. It was really pretty. I believe the upcoming photo is one of the original entrances to Jewel. I don't think they use it very much anymore, but it's on that trail I was doing that morning. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention that Jewel Cave, as of today, is the fifth longest known cave in the world at 220 miles and change. Considering that COVID was on and the main tourist season had ended, there really wasn't much to do at Jewel that day. We did a short trip there and then headed over to Mount Rushmore. I liked Mount Rushmore, but I feel like after being there for 5 minutes, I'd seen it all, if that makes any sense. I found the area around Mount Rushmore to be more interesting than Mount Rushmore. We took the old road from Rushmore over to Sylvan Lake, and it is very interesting with lots of blasted tunnels through granite. And the road actually goes through the Needles, and it's a world-class rock climbing area. It's just very, very impressive. The road that goes through this area is called South Dakota Highway 87, otherwise known as the Needles Highway. It's very impressive, and if you're a rock climber, you can just park and go climbing. As it was getting late, we kind of started looking for a place to camp, and as luck would have it, we found a really nice place to camp off the side of the road on federal land. And it's just one of those unmarked places out west, and there's thousands of them. You just kind of have to know where they are, and I'll never forget that one. It was just a perfect place to camp, close to everything and yet well hidden. After we broke camp, we eventually ended up at Custer State Park and saw lots of buffalo and even a lot of wild donkeys. From there, we headed over to Wind Cave National Park, which is the sixth longest known cave in the world. I just looked up the mileage, and as of now, it's being listed at 168 miles long. I believe Wind and Jewel are about 35 miles apart, and if they ever were to connect those two caves, which is theoretically kind of possible, it would certainly be the longest cave in the world.
I think it's demonstrated. It's strong air.
So I was demonstrating the power of the airflow there at Wind Cave National Park. Very, very impressive. There was an elevator that took us down into the cave and I believe back out as well. So I had long heard about John Shelton's ranch at Hot Springs, South Dakota. John Shelton's is a former president of the National Speleological Society, and they had their 1988 National Caving Convention, the NSS convention, at John's ranch that year. And so I called ahead and got permission to camp there, and we were very thankful to be able to do that. And I got to see this really neat rustic sort of western town that they built for that convention, and it's still there. And it's got, facilities, showers, bathrooms, and, even cooking facilities. It's not open to the public. I do think they have had occasionally certain regional caving events there, but I think that's kind of winding down. But that was certainly a really neat stop for us. So our final stop before driving straight through back to Birmingham was a stop at the Mammoth Bone Site at Hot Springs, South Dakota. And the Mammoth Bone Site, prehistorically, a long time ago, was essentially a steep-walled pond. It was like a cave roof that collapsed in, forming a pond with steep walls, trapping many of these woolly mammoths. And I believe they found over 60 or over 65 of these woolly mammoth skeletons there. It was just very impressive, totally worth a stop. Thank you for letting me share this vacation with you. I hope you found it very interesting and enjoyable. And I hope that maybe someday you can check out the Black Hills for yourself.